When it comes to Meghan Markle, our favorite fame-chasing, spotlight-obsessed reality show and waiting the drama practically serves itself. In this latest twist, it's so scalding, it could melt the Montecito mask she's tried so hard to keep intact. Now, I know you're itching for the juicy bits, but before we wade deeper into this madness, let's take a moment. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, like this video, or slap that bell for notifications. What are you even doing? Do it now, so you don't miss the next royal firestorm. So, here we are again, peeking over the hydrangeas and topiary fences of Casa Sussex. Not for another staged docuseries or faux charity walkthrough, but for something Meghan absolutely didn't want us to see. Not the press, not the royals, not poor Harry, still blinking under studio lights. And definitely not curious minds like yours and mine. This time, the cracks are too wide to gloss over with vintage filters and empowerment. Enter Lady Colin Campbell, the aristocratic firecracker with more royal dirt than a palace servant diary. And she's dropped a revelation so scandalous, so jaw-snapping, it could pass for a royal soap opera plotline. Except this one might just be true, because Lady C, that deliciously dangerous doyenne of blue blood secrets, didn't just toss around accusations, she reportedly came armed with receipts. And what did she uncover? Not a dyed humanitarian in search of rescue dogs and justice, but a former yacht girl. Yep, a yacht girl. Now, if you've ever lingered in royal gossip alleys, you know what that implies. Private yachts, billionaire hosts, exotic locales, guest lists you can't Google, and parties where no one brings their phone or their morals. And at the epicenter, a woman who once sat in Oprah's rose garden, misty-eyed, telling the world how cruelly she'd been treated by the dusty palace machine. Oh, the irony. But let's pause, because this isn't just a half-whispered rumor echoing from smoky club corners. No, Lady C, known for her flair and her filing cabinets, allegedly holds photos, testimonies, and according to insiders, Meghan's legal bulldogs are already frothing, issuing threats to anyone even thinking about retweeting those little gems. Imagine the Montecito panic room lighting up, PR teams scrambling in the wine cellar, crafting press releases about baseless defamation and privacy violations, while Harry tiptoes by with that wounded expression that says, "I told Grandma she was being too harsh, Because if even a fraction of this story checks out, we're not talking about a bump in the road. We're talking about a full-on PR sinkhole, and it's swallowing Sussex HQ, And if you think that's the worst of it, buckle up, because the plot thickens faster than one of Meghan's lifestyle blog recipes. Just as the scandal reaches fever pitch, a name drops that makes every royal flack in London go rigid. Prince Andrew. Yes, that Prince Andrew. The one who turned the Queen's Platinum Jubilee into a crisis comes nightmare. His name alone sends press officers into cardiac alert from Kensington to Balmoral. Now, to be very clear, we're not saying Meghan did anything unforgivable, but the mere whiff that she may have crossed paths with that orbit during her alleged yacht days, that's the kind of stain, no amount of humanitarian rebranding can bleach, even if it's just a long-forgotten handshake and a blurry photo from a party nobody admits attending. In the ruthless world of royal PR, that's enough to spark 1,000 tabloid infernos. Do you see the problem now? Royal watchers. For years, she's peddled the tale Meghan, the Hollywood underdog, a biracial actress who dared to infiltrate the world's oldest monarchy, only to be driven out by cold tradition and darker forces. With Harry in tow, she painted herself as a fragile phoenix rising from the ashes of royal cruelty. But if even a sliver of this yacht girl narrative sticks late-night parties, shady elite circles, mysterious benefactors, then that fairy tale cracks wide open. The wounded princess morphs into a calculating player who gamed the system and cashed in big. Because let's be honest, if this version of her past gets confirmed, then what she snagged wasn't a love story, it was a power move. A social climb of epic scale. Duchess by title, mogul by ambition. And suddenly it's clear why the crown wasn't keen on handing her the keys to the castle. And poor Harry, our ginger prince of lost causes. What must be churning in that royal brain of his right now? He gave up everything: family, heritage, military ties, a lifetime bond with William on the altar of Meghan's version of truth. But what if that truth turns out to be less about survival and more about strategy? If this saga is more branding than betrayal, then what does that make him? A loyal husband, or the most globally humiliated fall guy in modern memory? And somewhere, if you listen closely, you can almost hear Prince Philip chuckling from beyond. He and the late Queen, they'd seen social climbers before. They knew what a transactional smile looked like in a royal court. Meghan Markle may have thought she was reinventing royalty for a new age. But if this past life crawls into daylight, she's not revolutionizing anything. She's just starring in the same old script: ambition, reinvention, scandal, denial on a much grander stage. And the world. The world is watching. What we've witnessed, folks, wasn't some groundbreaking modern love story, it was just the streaming age reboot of a tale as old as royalty itself. Ambitious woman meets prince. Prince mistakes ambition for authenticity. Palace panics. Monarchy survives. Prince ends up in Montecito, staring out at the California haze, wondering how his royal legacy turned into podcast soundbites and guided meditations. And through it all, our true royals. They stay the course. The ones who don't chase cameras or clap back through lawyers. William and Catherine, holding the line school runs, hospital visits, fundraisers, and firm quiet resilience, while the Sussex show tries to steal headlines. With every whiny podcast and flimsy docuseries, King Charles, after decades of patient waiting, finally steps into his role with dignity, calm, and the same iron poise his mother once wore like a second skin. Camilla, who the press once devoured, now stands steady at his side, proof that time and loyalty rewrite the story better than any crisis PR firm ever could. And Princess Anne, God bless her, still marching in tweed and telling it like it is. The one woman in the family who'd probably chase Harry down herself if it meant protecting the crown's dignity. These are people who understand the meaning of duty. They've lived the cost of tradition. They don't cry into the lens, they carry on. While Meghan and Harry rehearse their victim speeches, the real royals show up again and again. With none of the fanfare, all of the impact, and here we sit. You and I, perched on our virtual garden bench, sipping our tea, watching this ever-spiraling saga unfold like the world's most unpredictable period drama. Watching as brand sponsors that once bent over backwards to hitch their name to Meghan's modern royalty image start vanishing like mist off the Pacific. Watching as the very Hollywood circles that once toasted her like a visionary now quietly whisper excuses and decline invitations. Because let's be honest, then that crowd, reputation is gold. And when yours gets tangled in something as murky as yacht rumors and the shadow of Prince Andrew, even the most forgiving publicist gets cold feet. And this is before we even touch on poor Harry's next big creative project. Another episode of Public Oversharing, a documentary about emotional trauma and frozen body parts. Please. Even Netflix eventually closes the writer's room when the ratings fall. You almost feel bad, because for all the talk about revolutionizing the monarchy, all the speeches about empowerment and healing and breaking cycles, here we are, watching the narrative collapse under its own weight. For years, we were told the Sussexes were the future, that the institution was brittle, outdated, cruel, that Meghan was the breath of fresh air, the cultural upgrade the crown so desperately needed. But when the spotlight dims and the PR fluff burns away, what remains? Who actually endured? Not the couple suing journalists and issuing statements every time a headline makes them uncomfortable. Not the ones hiding behind cease and desist letters, redacted interviews, and leaked diary excerpts. It's the family still standing. The ones attending Remembrance Day in the rain. The ones shaking hands with frontline workers without a camera crew in tow. The monarchy may not be perfect. God knows it's weathered enough scandal to prove that, but it endures. Because that's what institutions do. Meghan thought she could outwit the system, bend the narrative, rewrite the rules. But she never understood the most basic truth of royal life. You don't outplay the monarchy. You don't brand your way past 1,000 years of history. You survive at tour, you don't die. So here's to you, my loyal tea drinkers. We've watched this spectacle unfold, season by season. From Oprah's Garden of Grievances to Spotify's pity parties to the baffling chicken coop confessions. And now, as the temperature rises, as the whispers get louder and the photos begin to circulate, we see the panic setting in. Legal teams bracing for impact. PR flacks drafting statements before breakfast. One or two brave celebrities still clinging on for clout, at least until the next damning headline hits, because this is the thing. When truth knocks, it doesn't care how many PR filters you've layered over it. You can control the message, but you can't stop the facts forever. And when they finally break through, not even Oprah can stage manage that mess. And Harry, our ever loyal, ever lost prince, what's left for him now? The man who gave up an entire kingdom for love, only to realize the fairy tale was scribbled in pencil and subject to edits. He traded duty for drama, loyalty for lawsuits, and now finds himself defending the indefensible. We know the script. It's racism, it's misogyny, it's unfair. These lines have been rehearsed into oblivion. But this time, even the most sympathetic ears are tuning out. The cracks are showing, and no amount of Spotify therapy sessions can patch the holes. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, William and Catherine will rise tomorrow at dawn, iron the uniforms, shake hands with grieving families, and stand shoulder to shoulder with people who will never know what a Netflix deal is. And in that quiet, sacred space far from microphones and memoirs, they'll remind the world what real service looks like. No hash, no merch, just showing up. Every time. So as we close tonight, dear watchers, let me leave you with this. When you hear the next tearful tale about how deeply misunderstood Meghan Markle is, ask yourself this: why does someone so committed to the truth keep trying to hide it? Secrets have a funny way of resurfacing. Sometimes they drift ashore years later, sun-drenched and metal-soaked, with a tiara in one hand and Lady Colin Campbell on speed dial.